Did you find yourself, I mean, you're not totally isolating. I mean, obviously, you know, we're in Afghanistan and Iraq. And that, was it something that you encouraged to make it into your book? I mean, having not served yourself.
Right.
I mean, that would be a good source. I would think that would be a good source of actually knowing how things go down. Because, I mean, this is one, these two wars are probably the most publicized wars since Vietnam, really.
Certainly.
I mean, because when I was a kid, Vietnam was on, you know, bang, it was there, Walter Cronkite every morning, every night. So, and not since then have we had so much cover. I mean, they had embedded people. I mean, Geraldo was, you know, out in the middle of nowhere. You know, you had, you know, wearing that bomber jacket. I don't know what that was all about. But so, did you find it that was a good thing that those were good things that were making it into your book, or did you try to keep those kind of things out of your book?
As far as those two wars in particular go, they weren't a very direct inspiration. It takes place partly in America, partly in Vietnam, and so I couldn't use that location. But I have a very close friend who served, and he's in Iraq and Afghanistan vet. He was in both operations. And so I drew some inspiration from him. I'd ask things, technical military jargon, that sort of thing, things that you just sprinkle in. And I have an uncle who served in Vietnam.
Okay.
I tell everybody when they ask, and people will say, think that I've served because it seems rather realistic in the book. And I'll tell them no, but the creepier that it sounds, the more deranged it tends to be something that actually happened.
Right. Huh. Well, and the, now, it's called A City at Peace.
Yes.
All right, now what's this about? We know it's a follow-on, but I mean, tell us a little bit about that one too.
To clarify, the first book follows David primarily.
Okay.
You may not get that through the excerpt that you see on Amazon, but it follows David mainly. The second book follows Red, and it follows him entirely. It's hard to talk about without sort of giving away at the end, but what happens is Red returns home from Vietnam. And he can't quite cut it at home, knowing that he was part of something so much grander, that he was fighting for his life and he was fighting for other people's lives. And then he goes and he works in a coal mine. And so he can't rationalize that exchange. So he takes off, and he thinks about going back. He stays home for about a year. Then he goes out to the West Coast and tries to gather up the courage to go back overseas, and he can't do it. And instead he goes back into the middle of the country and tries to find a girl that he met on leave in the very beginning.
Okay. Now, I don't, I've served in the Air Force, and I occasionally go down to the VA and I talk to, you know, the guys who are, they're very old now. They're, I mean, Korean War veterans, and some of them are Vietnam veterans. And I got to say that, you know, especially with the Vietnam veterans, not so much with the Korean veterans, but with the Vietnam veterans, they went over there, you know, they either went over there right out of high school, or they, you know, went to college and dropped out of college to go there. And it was the time in their life where they felt the most alive was when they were fighting for their life every day.
Yeah.
And then they come back here and it's so easy.
Yeah.
And now they don't feel alive anymore.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that struck me with visiting with veterans at the VA. We're going to take I need to take a quick break here, so we'll be right back, okay? We are going to thank one of our sponsors, and we are going to be right back with Eric Shonkwiler.
The Urbana Leader is sponsored in part by the Depot Coffee House, a gathering place for locals, a resting place for bicyclists, and a haven for history and railroad buffs. Located 6 blocks west of Monument Square on Miami Street in Urbana, the coffee house can be found in a refurbished 1890s train station on the Simon Kenton Bike Trail. Free Wi-Fi, fresh baked goods, local artwork, and good conversation can be found every day of the week at The Depot from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m.
Welcome back. This is Urbana Leader. I'm Anthony Erisman, and we're here with Eric Shonkwiler, and who's written a book, The Long Way Home, which can be, you can download an excerpt from Amazon.com, and I guess you would just do a search for your name, right?
I'm actually not so sure anymore. They might have taken me down since
I printed it off today.
Today then?
I think I did it with your name.
Then you may be.
I probably did it with your name. I typed in the name and it took me right to Amazon.com. I actually Googled the name and it took me to Amazon.com,
oh, wow.
and I was still able to download it.
Okay.
So yeah, which is really good. And you'll enjoy what little they give you. You will enjoy it. And he is in are you finished with your new book?
Yeah. I'm on the 4th draft right now. I'm editing it.
Okay. 4th draft, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite a grind.
I bet. But you're enjoying it.
I am enjoying it. It gets tiresome sometimes, but when I'm actually there with the text, circling everything, it gets to be fun again.
Now, you have a blog,
Mm-hmm.
which I have visited. I've been, I think I'm one of the followers now.
Yeah.
I think I'm one of the followers. And I happen to know that you're trying your hand at poetry. How's that coming out?
I don't do it too terribly often. Usually what happens is I'll get bored and I'll read some Bukowski, and Bukowski will inspire me, and then I'll try and bang something out.
He was an alcoholic.
He was.
He lived on the 3rd floor of the building I lived in.
You're kidding?
Yeah, no, I'm not kidding.
Wow.
He lives in L.A. on Hollywood Boulevard. Well, at least he did when I was. It was about 10 years ago. 10, 11 years ago. But yeah, he lived in that building, and so yeah, I've read a lot of it, and I enjoy it. But I've always been an Allen Ginsberg, Jack Kerouac kind of guy. I once got offered to. They wanted to print a poem of mine in a book called Whitman's Wild Children. And I just couldn't go with that one because I'd never read any Whitman. And here I was, like 32 years old, never read any Whitman. And so I just couldn't deal with that. But right after they did, I picked it up. So I've been reading, but I'm more of a William C. Williams guy, that kind of stuff. So you're finding your inspiration as far as poetry from?
Charles Bukowski, mainly.
Charles.
Very simple narrative poetry. I can't seem to hack to it. I don't want to call it flowery or lurid because that sounds derogatory, but I can't do it very well. My prose actually tends to be a lot more thick than my poetry.
Okay. Well, and you know, and if you bounce from that and go back to your writing, there's a lot of things that you can take from writing prose, and to put it into your writing, just to make the flows, especially if you're writing. If you need to emote some kind of emotion into what you're writing, because then it's more easily transferable when you're trying to tell a story if you've written some poetry that's emotional. Yeah. At least that's what I have found. And you blog daily or weekly or what?
Roughly weekly.
No, you're not a Twitterer though.
No.
Yeah, I'm not a big Twitterer either. Everything I got to say, I don't. I can't do it in 140 words. 140 characters, not 140 words, not 140 characters. To me that's a long pause. I couldn't do it. So what else have you got going on?
I need to get started on a book review. There's a website called therumpus.net.
Rumpus.net.
That's supporting an undergrad and graduate book review right now.
Okay.
For writers. Writer's Digest is actually going to be starting a new student blog, which I need to look into. And by September, I will be in California, University of California, Riverside, for a Master of Fine Arts in Fiction.
Well, you're going to not like Riverside, but you'll like the university.
Okay.
I was born in California, so I know Riverside. and it's fallen on some hard times, but
So I've heard.
they're great people though. I mean, great people.